When you try to hug your husband but he ignores you and you start crying. The track played on loop for the fifth time. Chan's headphones were glued to his ear, his fingers dancing across the keyboard as he adjusted another layer. She tiptoed behind his chair and wrapped her arms around his shoulders. His body tensed. Baby, not now, he murmured gently, shrugging her off. 10 minutes, Yen nodded silently and retreated to the bed, pulling her knees to her chest. It wasn't his fault. He was working. She knew that. John's headphones came off in an instant. He spun around, eyes wide, and spotted Yen curled up on the bed, crying quietly. His face crumbled with, "Hey, hey, what happened? Talk to me." His voice was soft, panicked, full of love. Yen shook her head, embarrassed. "It's stupid. You're busy. I'm sorry." She sniffled. I really needed a hug, and you said no, and I know it's small, but he pulled her into his chest so fast she nearly. "I'm so sorry," he breathed into her hair. "I'm an idiot. The music can wait. You can't wait. You're my priority always." He held her tighter, rocking her gently. Yen buried her face in his neck, breathing him in. His heartbeat was steady against her ear. 10 minutes, she mumbled against her skin. He chuckled softly. And he didn't. He held Yen until her tears dried, until her breathing evened out, until she finally smiled again just because she asked. Reno was on the couch scrolling through his phone, legs stretched out lazily. Yen had a rough day, nothing major, just small things piling up until her chest fell. She walked over and leaned down, wrapping her arms around his neck from behind. He didn't move, didn't react. "Minho," she whispered. Still scrolling. "Can you hug?" A pause, then he gently pried her arms off and set them aside. "Not right now, babe," he said flatly. "I'm watching cat videos." Yen's heart dropped. She stepped back quietly, mumbled an okay, and turned toward the bedroom. The tears started before she even reached the door. Stupid. 1 minute later, footsteps, soft, deliberate. The bed tipped beside her. He didn't say anything at first, just sat there, watching Yen cry. Yen nodded, embarrassed. "I told you I needed a hug." Silence. Then he sighed, not annoyed, but something softer. "Look at me." She shook her head. He reached. "You're so dramatic," he murmured, but his eyes weren't teasing anymore. They were warm, guilty. He pulled Yen into his chest, firm, secure. His Yen sniffled against his hoodie. "But you said no." "I know." He kissed the top of her head. "And I won't again, I promise." His hand rubbed slow circles. "You can have as many hugs as you want," he whispered, lips brushing her hair. "Even if I'm busy, even if I'm annoyed, even if you're crying." He smiled, that rare, genuine smile that made her heart flutter. "Your feelings?" He cupped her face, kissed her forehead. "Never. You alone." Yen hid his chest weakly. He caught her hand, pressed a kiss to her palm. "Better?" he asked. She nodded, burrowing back into his arms. "Good," he murmured. Changbin was at his desk, headphones on, focused on the beat he'd been practicing for hours. Yen had been patient, so patient, but today had. She walked over quietly, wrapped her arms around his shoulders, and rested her chin on his head. He flinched hard. "Babe, not now," he said, voice clipped. Yen's face burned. "I didn't mean to. I know, I know." He waved a hand, already turning back. "Just give me 20 minutes, please." He stepped back, nodded, left with. In the bedroom, she sat on the floor against the bed, hugged her knees, and let it out. Silent tears, the kind that hurt her throat. She wasn't angry. Then his bare feet appeared in her vision. He crouched down, his broad frame blocking the light. "Hey," his voice was different now, softer. "Baby," he exhaled, guilt flooding his features. "I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I just wanted a hug," she whispered, voice cracking. "That's all. I had a terrible." His jaw tightened. He pulled her up and into his lap in one fluid motion, sitting on the floor with her cradled against his chest. His arms. He kissed her temple, her cheek, the corner of her eye. 20 minutes, stupid. He shook his head. You get all my minutes, every single one. Can wait. He cut in firmly. You can't. You're my priority. I'm sorry I made you feel otherwise. He held her tighter, rocking her gently. She buried her face in his neck and finally smiled. Now, he added, his voice playful. Can I get that hug again, properly this time? Han was mid-crumble, standing in the middle of the living room, waving his arm, telling Yen some chaotic story about a dream he had where he was a goldfish. She walked up to him, arms open, desperate for a hug after a draining day. He didn't even stop talking, and then the dolphin was like brr, and I was like. Yen froze, her arms still open, her face burning. He kept facing completely oblivious. And then the dolphin said, "You're adopted," and he finally. She shook her head quickly. "Nothing. Keep telling your story." But her voice cracked, and he noticed. Han always noticed. His face marked from couldn't. Oh, no, no, no. He rushed toward her, but she stepped back. "Baby, I'm sorry. I didn't was that a hug attempt. I just walked right through it like a moon." "I'm an idiot goldfish," he declared dramatically, dropping to his knees in front of Yen. "Stupid talking goldfish who doesn't deserve you. Hug me, squish me, punish me with affection, I'm begging you." She sniffled. "You sidestepped me, Jisung." I know, his eyes widened, looking genuine guilt. He stood up abruptly, wrapping his arms around her and squeezed her so tightly her feet almost left the floor. "I'm so sorry," he whispered suddenly. He pulled back just enough to wipe her tears with his sleeves. "Next time," he said softly, "you grab my face and say stop, hug me. Now." He kissed her forehead, then both her cheeks, then her nose. "Promise on my goldfish honor." He hugged her again, rocking side to side, humming a random tune. Hyunjin was sitting in his wooden rocking chair by the window, sketchbook balanced on his knee, pencil moving gracefully across the page. Soft afternoon light. Yen approached quietly, leaning down and wrapped her arms around his neck from behind. He tensed, his pencil stopped. "Jeannie, can I have a hug?" she whispered. He gently pried her arms off without looking up. "I'm in the zone, baby. The lighting is perfect right now. Just give me 10 minutes." Her arms. Yen stood there waiting, hoping he'd change his mind, but he kept sketching, completely absorbed. 3 seconds, 5, 10. A tear slipped down her cheek. Finally, Yen turned to walk away. His hand shot out and caught her wrist like lightning. "Wait." She froze. He set the sketchbook aside and stood so fast. He was on a video call with his Australian friends, laughing in that deep, bubbly voice that always made Yen's heart fluttered. They were catching up after months. Yen heard the worst day. Her boss yelled at her, and she spilled coffee on her favorite shirt. All she wanted was him. She tiptoed behind his chair. Babe, I'm on a call, he whispered, gently removing her arms. Just give me 10 more minutes, please. Yen's heart sank. She nodded, stepped back, and sat on the. But the tears came anyway. She tried to be quiet, really tried, but a tiny broken sniffle escaped. Felix had whipped around. Guys, I gotta go, he said into the phone, voice strained. Something came up, I'll call you back. Yeah, bye. He tossed his phone aside and was. Yen was curled up on the couch, a heating pad pressed to her stomach, watching Songmin practice guitar. She'd been quiet all day, her emotion everywhere. Yen walked over slowly and wrapped her arms around his shoulders from behind. Minnie, can you hug me? He gently shrugged her off, still focused on her heart cracked. Yen stepped back, mumbled okay, and shuffled to the couch. She buried her face in her knees and let it out, silent sob that shook her whole. The couch dipped beside her. Hey, look at me. Yen shook her head. He gently pulled her hands away. His eyes widened at her tears. I'm sorry, she choked out. I know I'm being ridiculous. It's just my period and I'm emotional and he froze, his face shift from. Jeongin was in the corner of the room practicing his dance moves, earbuds in, completely lost in the music. Yen watched him for a moment, his focused expression. Yen walked over and wrapped her arms around his waist from behind, pressing her cheek to his back. He startled slightly, paused the music, and turned around. I just need a hug, she whispered. He gently fired her arms off. Give me 5 minutes, okay? I'm almost done with this routine. Yen stepped back, but the tears came before she even reached the door. Hard, silent, embarrassing. She sat on the edge of the bed, trying to stop them, but they kept falling. He crouched in front of her, saw her tear-streaked face, and his eyes went wide. Baby, what happened? Nothing, she sniffled. I really need. It's not stupid. His voice was firm but soft. It's not stupid at all. He pulled Yen into his arms, straddling her against his chest. His hands. I'm so sorry, he murmured. I was so focused on dancing. I didn't see you. Didn't see how much you needed me. He kissed her forehead, then her temple, then. Yen shook her head against his chest. You're the best husband. He laughed softly. Liar, but I love you for saying that. He pulled back, cupped her face, and wiped her. I promise, he said seriously. Next time you come near me, I stop everything dancing, practicing, whatever. You come first, always. Especially then, he smiled that adorable bunny smile because I'd rather hold you than dance. You're way more fun to hold. He pulled Yen into. Better, he asked softly. She nodded, drawing closer. Good, he whispered, kissing her hair. Because I'm not letting go, not now, not ever. He rocked. You know what? He murmured, a small smile tugging at his lips. I think I like this better than dancing. Yen smiled sleepily against his chest. You better. She nodded, finally relaxing in his arms. That's my girl, he whispered gently, brushing her hair away from her face. Now get some rest. I'll be right here when you wake. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.